Good morning, I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Friday, April 17th, and we have our morning interview as part of our dealing with the coronavirus outbreak in Westchester County and elsewhere. We've talked in different days with different people about different elements of this. That comes back over and over again on the economic impacts of the virus outbreak. What does it mean for us in terms of businesses surviving and people being able to work? We have back on the air, we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, but things are changing dramatically. Thom Kleiner, who is our director of the Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board, live from his home. And Thom, it's good to see you, and thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, George. Pleasure to be with you.
The biggest issue, I know it's primarily been framed as a state issue, and our colleagues who serve in the state legislature, as I once did, are dealing with this on an ongoing basis. But can you give us an update on the status of unemployment claims and procedures within New York State?
So, as I'm sure is not a surprise to you or probably anybody listening, there was an exponential increase in unemployment insurance claims over the last several weeks. The week before, there was a 16,000% increase in the number of calls to the unemployment insurance line that Department of Labor administers, and 8 million calls total to that line. Now, a lot of those, of course, were repeat calls because people were having difficulty getting through, but the Department of Labor here in New York and many places across the country had never seen such an increase over such a short period of time, all, of course, caused by the crisis. So what Department of Labor has done, and it really has made, at least initially, as far as we can tell, a difference, is to eliminate the responsibility of the claimant to call once they file online. And instead, the Department of Labor is making those calls as return calls. So, for example, of the 5,000 people who work in the Department of Labor in many different areas, everybody has their, or at least used to have their silos. Many of those thousands have been reassigned to just returning calls. So 350,000 return calls for those who had only filed partial returns were made as a part of last week. And 975,000 claims have been completed. Compares to only 260,000 jobs being lost at the latest, what was the previous record, 1982. So, all of these things are a completely new world for the Department of Labor. And for those of us at the Career Center in the county, just trying to get the right information to people. And it's hard to tell the 275,000 who still have not received completed returns yet to be patient, but they do need to be, because they're working extremely hard, 7 days a week, 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So there have been, and I'll just add one other statistic, 7,000 people in the state have just been trained over the last week by Department of Labor employees to make these calls, covering 49 state agencies. So it's an hands on deck, and we'll get through it.
And is it my understanding that benefits are retroactive, so that whether you get through on today or tomorrow, it still goes back to that period of time at which unemployment began?
That's correct. That's correct. So for those who have not yet been reached, who are listening, you do have to try to be patient. You can certainly we'll put up information later about how to contact us at the Career Center, and we'll try to, communicate any specific information that we can. But yes, you have to be patient, because there are hundreds of thousands of calls being now returned by the Department of Labor. I mean, it's sort of on a larger level, George, that you might have a thought on. What's interesting is, in this country, we are really trying to help people with unemployment insurance, and the CARES Act, pandemic unemployment insurance, obviously is the right thing to do. It's going to help alleviate some of the pain, inevitably increase the unemployment rate, of course. But, what they're doing in Europe with these Paycheck Protection Acts is to try to actually keep people in their jobs from the beginning so that they're not actually unemployed. And we have, as you know, the Paycheck Protection, some of that for small businesses. And Bridget Gibbons, your Director of Economic Development, has spoken about that and will continue to do so. And we're working, of course, with her to coordinate the workforce and economic development efforts. But it was just interesting to me, that the approach is different in different locales. I mean, we can't go back and reinvent the wheel right now, but we may take this crisis opportunity to learn something about what we do going forward.
From the perspective of where we are right now, at 6, 7 weeks into this, what kind of job leads exist out there in this marketplace? Obviously, there are a lot of challenges that relate to them, but where are there some opportunities, if there are any?
There are, and as you might guess, in our healthcare institutions, Westchester Medical, Phelps, Northwell. There are White Plains Hospital. There are opportunities. Some of them have very specific job requirements. We're going to be posting an updated list on our website in the next day or so, Westchester-Putnam onestop.com. And we are also sharing that information in our e-blast and in social media. But also people can reach out to us at the Career Center by calling 914-813-6555 or email wpwbcc@gmail, and we'll share that information as well. So the healthcare institutions, and we've been assisted by leads from the Business Council of Westchester, by Westchester County Association. Jason Chapin, the Director of Workforce Development there, has a LinkedIn group that all of us try to feed information into. Those jobs are available. We want to make sure that people know in advance what the health and safety requirements are, both for themselves and for the employees who are already working at those institutions, and we're going to share that information. And also the national chains have local opportunities, Walmart, Target, CVS, and we're including local links to those places as well. I mean, to be straight about it, some of our job seekers, and we, at the Career Center, Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board, traditionally our clients are those who may have who are most difficult to serve because they have transportation, childcare, economic challenges that maybe others in the population don't have. And we want to make sure they have the information before they go into these jobs with regard to health and safety. And we want to share that information with them. In fact, as you, I'm sure, are aware, those who are most vulnerable in the population are those who are impacted greatest, by the crisis. There was an article in the Times this morning about if the unemployment rate hits 30%, which is not impossible, that there'll be a threefold increase in the poverty rate, particularly among African Americans, minority communities, and it's a real concern because when this breaks, hopefully a lot of people will get back to the jobs that they had, but those who are most difficult to serve, who are our primary clientele, we're going to really have to pay attention to because they may have been struggling before, even with a low unemployment rate, but they're going to be hard hit for, as we proceed to come out of this.
Tell us a little bit about the Census 2020 hiring situation. I understand they've extended the deadline, which was originally July 31st. They've extended it to August 14th, and now the deadline is October 31st. That stretches out the period of time at which they're going to need some manpower. What is your understanding of job availability through the Census conduit?
They're going to change, I think, their assumptions, or they are changing their assumptions in terms of who might be best able to help assist with the census, because they were going to be relying on college students in the summer to do a lot of the enumeration and the door-to-door work that was necessary to pick up those individuals who, for whatever reason, were reluctant or unwilling to either go online to return the census survey, which only takes, just to remind everybody, about 5 minutes to do, or they're now getting paper in the mail, the actual census forms in the mail, so people can send it back that way if they prefer. But there's always going to be those. And again, disproportionately, it hits the communities that have other challenges as well in some of our cities. We're going to be relying on college students to do a lot of this work over the summer, but now that the deadline has been pushed out into the fall, on the one hand, we're not going to have that ability to get college students as much as we thought, but there will be an opportunity for, average Westchester residents to come out and get hired and do those jobs. So on this, the Department of Planning has those links on their website, or Census 2020, and there are still job opportunities that we will.
Tom, I don't know if we've lost Tom's connection or not. It's frozen at the moment. Tom, can you hear me? All right, let's see if we can correct whatever the whatever the situation is. Tom was talking about job availability through Census 2020, and that now that there's an extended period of time for which the census is going to be conducted, and that we'll try to go from there. It looks like we've lost our connection. We may have trouble reestablishing it. So while we're short on this time, we'll follow up with some of the other questions that we'll discuss. How do we handle training opportunities in an online situation with options there? And then also, how do we deal with people who have barriers to employment as part of that? But Thom Kleiner, who's our director of Westchester-Putnam Workforce Development Board, was with us today. He is on the job, as we all are, wherever we are, whether we're here in an office or at home. And Thom, we thank you and your team for your work. We thank you for watching. We'll make sure that we correct our technical glitches. We will be out in the field for our 2 o'clock update. We'll be at the location where we provide various equipment and material for the various towns, cities, and organizations of the county, the PPEs, the personal protective equipment, and sanitizer and so forth. So we'll be out at the warehouse today. We'll be citing Con Edison for doing a very good job and making some of that stuff available to us, visors, masks, and at that point in time, we'll give you an update on the statistics and a few other things. This is George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, have a safe day, and a good, safe weekend ahead.